everyone, to the Ignite board meeting for April 2026. So just checking everybody there. I'm thinking maybe, if we'd all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Next on the agenda is time for public comment. Any public comment, please come forward. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, including the approval of the minutes for the board meeting of March 18th, 2026, the approval of the minutes for the special call meeting of March 19th, 2026, the approval of the minutes for the joint city council and Ignite board meeting on March 23rd, 2026, and the payables as submitted.
We have a motion.
Second.
And the second, any comments, questions, suggestions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next up, the executive director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to mention quickly about the financials and the accounting situation. We have made an agreement with Brenda Bookshire, and she will be Buchholz, excuse me. She will be taking over that role. I'm very glad to have her on board. And I did review the financials to date with the finance committee meeting and the bank statements a week ago, and so I am keeping up on that portion of it, and the financials will be caught up prior to next month's board meeting.
Excellent, thank you.
Great.
At this point, I would ask Melissa Cleveland from Welsh Comer to present a couple of board action items for our review.
Welcome, Melissa.
Hello. All right. Oh, that didn't change. I tried to change the date earlier, but it wouldn't let me. So it's the 15th, not the 22nd. And okay, so we have a couple things. So there are two items on your agenda that have, three that have action items. One are the final renderings of the Atlas Phase 3 site from GGLO, and that's new appendix that they made to the development guidelines that is for attainable housing. So both of those were in your packet, and so hopefully you had a chance to review them. And then the other thing is an update and kind of a potential new path forward on the earthwork situation for Phase 3. So the development, the renderings and the development guidelines, the reason we kind of need to get those approved at this point is because we're drafting the RFP to get the building partner on board, and we're to that point. These documents, the guidelines and the renderings, are going to be a part of that RFP so that the builders know what it is that you all are looking for in that development. We will eventually need a PUD amendment to have the development guidelines be a part of the PUD, since the original guidelines are a part of that PUD. But we're gonna delay doing that part of it until the building partner's on board, just in case there's some minor modifications that they wanna request. Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm gonna run through, these again were in your packet, in kind of low resolution though, so that the packet wasn't gigantic. And so these are the final renderings that GGLO put together following your comments from March. So I think they turned out pretty amazing. But if you guys have any final comments, I can relay those to Mark and his team. The things that got added since are the buildings. Can you see my cursor? This building, which does not exist, and these buildings, which do not exist, are in there, which I think that's pretty amazing. So he added those in. Then there's just some different versions of what the lights can look like, and the more watercolor, like sketchy, like artist rendition type versions, and then some zoomed in versions of all the same things. Oh, this is the lumber lane perspective. And then the park perspective. So we are seeking approval of these final renderings or taking final comments back to Mark and his team.
Any questions or comments or motions or for Melissa?
The only comment I have, Melissa, is the building that was added that's on the river side of the attainable housing, that looks like a big apartment building. Is that?
It's just
Conceptual. I don't know if that would be misleading to people, because my understanding is that's going to be housing.
That's area 13, I believe,
Oh,
and that it
I
is
think that
two,
is the building, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is.
Oh, it
That
is? Okay.
It's two condo buildings and a restaurant building.
No,
Yeah.
there was one that was in between those.
That's 5A.
5A?
Yeah, that's just a conceptual design based
Okay.
on what we've seen from submittals.
Okay,
for
okay,
what
that,
it
that,
could be.
that helps clarify. I knew that we hadn't developed anything in that space yet, and I just wanted to make sure that I understood, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I think it's just to compare scale, et
Okay.
cetera, because we do expect that to be a larger multi-story building. So we wanted you to be able to see what that looks like next to phase 3.
Okay,
Which is why they decided to put townhomes across from it rather than single family. Because they are gonna be looking at
Right.
quite a large building across the street.
okay.
And that's Unit 5A, which was coming out to RFP sometime in the near future, I hope.
That's very helpful, thank you.
And Melissa, I just wanted to clarify, sorry, speaking out of turn there. The entire board has seen this entire plan more than one time. This isn't the only place it's been daylighted. So when we're approving these special calls and all these meetings, everyone on the board has weighed in on how these design changes, based on things they learned from the
Right.
previous RFPs and all of that. So all of those have been collated and included into this final draft, right?
Correct.
Dialogued, discussed, and yeah, yes, good point.
A lot of meetings.
Right, right. And
A couple
all of
years
these
worth.
were presented at a previous meeting, and then you gave comments then. And so this should be the final, but if there's any final comments, I'll take those back. But yes.
I went through it and just looked at my notes, and it looked like everything was incorporated or addressed.
Well, this is a culmination of the ad hoc committee for close to 2 years. So, awesome.
I will make a motion that we approve the final renderings as presented this evening by Melissa.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so also with the Attainable Housing Development Guidelines, the reason that we did this was to kind of maintain that same Atlas quality that's kind of been set as the standard for attainable housing. So how does that look when it's an attainable housing product? So it added some prescriptive language, addressed some other design weaknesses that the ad hoc committee has noticed trying to apply the other guidelines over time on the design review committee. And it also just was very specific about what you guys are looking for in phase 3, so that there's not going to be a ton of items that are open for interpretation, because I think there wants to be a little bit more bounds on what this attainable housing product can be. And then how we apply these are the Architectural Design Committee, the Planned Unit Development, and it will go into that request for proposal, so that the building partner is on board with what you all are looking for here.
Good.
So I did put the PDF in here because I didn't think that you would be able to see them well enough if we needed to zoom in, because it's like, you know, a 30-page document. So this was also in your packet. These were also reviewed in March at the ad hoc committee meeting. So if you have anything else, let me know. We can pan through all of these. And I opened up the PDF, so if we need to zoom in, we can. So this should have all of your previous comments addressed. I do like how it has like appropriate and not appropriate type pictures, so that it's not just words that are open to interpretation, kind of, especially because we do have alley loaded product shown and what is appropriate and not for that. And this little picture here shows like from the plan view of the whole development, like where this product is in the grand scheme of it as well. So that helps to orient everyone.
Melissa, I know at our special call meeting we had at your location,
Yes.
you know, the multi-story, multi-housing units that were facing that little park, we were talking about putting some balconies on those or some, do you know if that language got added or?
I didn't specifically look for that.
I didn't
Let me
quite
see.
read the whole thing either, so.
I remember seeing something about balconies added on.
I think it did.
Yeah, I think it did.
Okay, good.
Did you guys see that?
I think I did.
didn't specifically
I remember
notice
something
it.
about like a add-on balcony. There was a specific wording for it that I
Okay.
was unfamiliar with.
Control Q.
See if we look,
Control F.
oh, like these. It just says porches overlooking front yards.
It was one where the images actually had balconies.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole section on porches, stoops, and balconies.
What page is that on? Oh, maybe I just hadn't gotten there.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
some
yeah.
balconies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The bottom
Yeah,
left, that's the
perfect.
picture
okay.
I remembered.
Okay, so yes, this right here, can you guys read that? I can zoom in.
Nice.
The townhomes of the park shall provide a minimum of 30% of the units with simple upper level balconies.
Melissa, do you know if the ad hoc committee had discussed phasing phase 3, doing different phases?
Well, I think we're kind of forced to phase it based on the earthwork conversation that we'll have next. I don't know that the ad hoc committee specifically talked about that, but I think that we'll be in two phases. And then I also think that the building partner is probably gonna have an opinion on how quickly they can get through certain type of product and that kind of a thing. And that's it on that. So I'll bring up the presentation again and scroll down. So we are asking for approval of these attainable housing design guidelines. They're the new appendix to the original document.
I'll make, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I recall seeing an email from Commissioner Jester. I don't recall he had one suggestion, does that, am I?
He was concerned about the roofs that fed into each other in a common valley.
Okay,
And I think that we can address that in the design element of this.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we recognize that comment from him, because I thought that was valid.
I'll make a motion to approve the Attainable Housing Design Guidelines Appendix.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries.
Okay, so the next thing is about the earthwork. So I know that Phil was here last month talking this through with you, so we've been thinking about it since. Did someone say something? Okay. And so I think he brought up this phase 3A and 3B, and
Yep.
that this shaded area, also in kind of dashed here, is what would be first, and that's about needing a 20,000 cubic yards of material. And so he presented this last time, and I think the direction was to design it now, but we don't know if we want to purchase all the material. We don't know what that means, that type of a thing. So we've modified the approach just a little bit. We are working on the design because we have to meet the schedule and be under construction this fall. So what we're thinking would be the best thing to do is to go to bid for material. It's for someone to deliver structural material to the site. And we would structure this to give you guys flexibility. So we need 20,000 yards-ish, for phase 3A. So that would mean that we can start building infrastructure this fall. So we would say the base bid is 20,000 cubic yards, and your milestone for delivering that is September 1st.
Start or completion?
Completion. Then add alternate 1 would be another 20,000 yards, also with September 1 completion. So if somebody has a bunch of material, then that would, and the price is good, then that would be great, just get it done. But we could also be flexible on that alternate 2, and so we could, or the phase 3B, so we could say, well, we could wait until, say, mid-March for the rest of that material to show up so that we can finish our infrastructure. And so if we could bid this out in this fashion, we can see where the prices are, and if base bid's good, but alternative 1 or 2 aren't great, you don't have to do it at this point, or you can pick and choose that. It gives you a little bit of flexibility, because
It's a good idea.
who knows what the market's gonna do, but it would be nice to kind of know instead of just waiting around and seeing if material is gonna show up, because it's kind of really difficult to be in that position when we're trying to get a project out to bid. So,
And Melissa, this approach will give us the option to utilize the material from the highway department if it should come through, right? And not let alternate 2.
right, so if it seems like, so nothing has materialized so far from the I-90 project. It still could, though the quantities so far have been not right, they just haven't had the excess material that they thought they would have. And so, right, we could, if it looks like through this next phase that they're gonna get material, then we could still receive it.
This gives us the flexibility to do that then.
Right, it gives a little more flexibility, and then we don't feel like we're just waiting around. So also, Phil knew that you guys would be concerned then if we're doing phase 3B or 3A, and then how do we get the material there for 3B then? And he is proposing from up here where there's this little crossing through the middle of Celtice. So he wanted to let you guys know that he was already thinking that through.
Good.
So this would allow us to stay kind of on schedule with what you guys were originally thinking. We would think that the earthwork then could be complete sometime in September, and then we could work on the infrastructure through mid-September to probably December. Kind of depends on the weather. This last year, they could have probably been building the whole year on underground utilities like that. So then we would work on surface infrastructure next spring, and then move on to like the phase 3B stuff if that's if alt 2 is the one that's selected. And then we think that in June we could be done with all of the infrastructure for phase 3, if we phase it that way.
Okay. Questions, comments? Looks good.
So to do this, we'd get a bid package together kind of as quick as we can, and our fee to do that would be $7,500 to go through this bid phase just for the structural material.
I'll make a motion to authorize to execute, for the executive director to execute a $7,500 amendment with Welch Comer for material bid package.
Second.
Would that be a not to exceed?
It's just lump sum.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
I just want some clarity on this. What is it that we're amending? Is it the
Our
current
design
work order
contract.
for the Atlas design contract? project?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, good clarification.
Putting in a bid package.
Our phase
that we
3
weren't
design
gonna do.
contract.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, and
So can I just clarify the motion? Is a motion to approve the RFP for structural soil procurement as presented and amend the Welch Comer contract to add $7,500 to prepare the bid?
for a bid package.
Great.
Thank you.
Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That was it.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa, and back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Will. Now, next up on the agenda is board commissioner comments. Any comments from a board commissioner?
No.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries and we're adjourned. And Mike, that's a wrap.